Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hope you guys are having a great day. Today, I'm going to talk about this book, one of my favorite books that I read a couple of months ago. And it's called The Power to Compete. I think it's a great book. It basically talks about the Japanese economy of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It was a great conversation between a father and a son. And that once the book was completed, the father passed away. And I think the reading books like this is great for everybody because you have a way to broaden your perspectives, go outside of what you've been taught, what you're usually learning on a regular basis, no matter it's with your businesses, with your job. And I think it's just great to figure out how other economies work because a lot of times when you do, you can apply some of those specific methods into your daily routine. It might not be considered a US method, but it could be an ethical method and it could maybe help exceed your business all at the same time. That's the beauty of being a business person, being an entrepreneur. You have to have those analytical skills in order for you to prosper, and at least have those people with those skills in order for you to prosper to the next level. The author's name is Hiroshi Mikitani. He owns one of the biggest internet companies out there. He's got shares in different internet companies, partnerships, and the book is with his father, and his father is, excuse me, Ryoichi Mikitani, who he was a renowned Japanese economist. So he was able to bring different perspectives from 30 to 40 years ago, and obviously his son's perspective for the last 10 to 15 years. And it's always nice to have two different perspectives when you're talking about economics as a whole, because lessons learned, mistakes that were made, how can you improve certain processes, whether it's from the government, whether it's from the private sector, et cetera, and so forth. And I think that's actually kind of cool because a lot of times you have a lot of people that are just so set in their ways that they're not willing to listen to anybody else's perspective. And I just think that's how you have a stale and stagnated society. And a lot of countries, including a lot of parts of the United States, have a stale and stagnated mindset. And that's why they can't progress because they will not listen to others and how others do business and how things are done. And at least do it from a respectful manner. I think that's kind of gone out the window. And, you know, the good old agree to disagree is a beautiful thing. Just do it in a respectful manner. But people don't know how to do that anymore. But that's another discussion. Japan's got one of the best economies out there in the world, but they've had somewhat of a stagnated issues lately because of countries like China, South Korea, Central and South America, other Myanmar, Indonesia, Pakistan, India. So a lot of competition out there when it comes to manufacturing products, and then a lot of issues that have come up from a globalization perspective. Because a lot of times when we just think of being not a victim, but having globalization issues. And you only think about it in the United States, but we never think about it from other countries. So this book talked about it at the same time. Because given the fact that Japan has a immigration problem because they have a lot of people immigrating out of Japan and not coming back, and they don't have enough people immigrating to Japan for various reasons. The main two that always come to mind for me is that it's hard for people to get work visas in Japan. Then a lot of Japanese companies aren't too welcoming of too many foreigners coming to work for them because they want to keep that cohesive Japanese culture ingrained in their companies, which is nothing wrong with that. You don't see too many American companies even trying to open up shop there like you see them opening up shop in other countries. So that's another thing. The list goes on and on when it comes to that. You have um, them not even having a lot of people just wanting to come there for, even though there are opportunities there, they just, you just don't have that. And then a lot of people have gotten burnt out from the old way of doing business in Japan because um, with working for a corporation in Japan, it's kind of like in a sense being in the military. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week sort of thing. There's no such thing as a day off. You can ask anybody who's been in the military; they've had days off, but they can be called and activated at any moment's notice. And the military comes first. I mean, obviously. The families and are involved, but and then that's another aspect with the families being involved. Same thing with the military. You have people living on a military base, military housing. It might as well be the same thing working for a Japanese corporation. Yeah, everybody lives in the same neighborhood. All the kids go to the same school. Everybody speaks the same dialect of the specific Japanese language. Everybody's on the same minor league teams. I mean, part of the same social clubs, from the kids to the grown-ups. The list goes on and on. And a lot of times people get burnt out from that lifestyle. And some people that work a job just want to be able to work a job and go home. or just be able to own their business and not have to deal with deal with any middleman or deal with having a boss. So it's like I said, it's different perspectives. I think that's pretty cool. And a lot of times with Japan, they've been stagnated because they won't allow those different perspectives because they're just used to doing things in an old specific way, and that's how you get left behind in any economy. But I'll touch into that a little bit later. Whoever thought they would have a immigration problem to the point where they don't have enough people immigrating to Japan? It's kind of crazy in a sense, but it's interesting. The book caters to different methods as far as lifetime employment. Usually, with working for the corporation in Japan, you're working for them forever and a day. There's no real retirement plans. It's kind of a you work till you're dead mentality. So the son touched on how that needs to change because you have a lot of people that want that work-life balance, or they want to be able to be an entrepreneur so they can set their own hours so they don't have to kill themselves 12 to 15 hours a day. It's different perspectives. It's a different time period. It's 2018. We're going into 2019, and a lot of people don't want to work themselves to death, especially when they don't have to. So the book touched on that. It touched on the individualism, how that could never work in Japan, and I totally get that because in America we have a individualistic mentality when it comes to I'm just going to do it by myself. I don't want to have a crowd of people. I'm not trying to do all this other nonsense. I'm trying to do it by myself. I don't need my whole family and my whole community all up in my business. I want to be able to do it on my own as far as having a job, as far as having a family, as far as opening a business. Like I'll take advice from a stranger before I take it from somebody within my own culture or somebody within my own neighborhood, et cetera, and so forth. And in Japan, obviously, and a lot of other cultures around the world, that's different. It's community. It's for it's everybody's from the same culture. They get each other, they get their perspective, and they only want to do business with each other. And a lot of times, it can help and hurt you all at the same time. So a lot of countries that are doing that and communities that are doing that are stagnated or they're somewhat fading away economically because we live in a global economy. No matter what happens, we live in a global economy unless there's all the economies collapse. So I just leave it at that when it comes to that. The book also touches on Abenomics, and Abenomics is basically it was unprecedented monetary easing and government spending that would tackle deflation and buy some time to implement much needed structural reforms throughout the whole country of Japan. So I thought that was interesting as well. And they can meet up on Abenomics at the same time because obviously there's different forms of economics that are out there, and it's always nice to explore different aspects of it. Talked about creating efficient think tanks, and I'm close to Washington D.C. about 35 minutes without traffic. But the Lord knows there's always traffic. But I'm about 35 minutes outside of D.C. and there's think tanks all over the place from all different perspectives. A lot of corporations, big and small, have their own think tanks because they're always trying to figure out different ways how they can attack um, the different problems, how they can bring new concepts to their corporation, how they can develop new products with their corporation, how can they do it in a better, timely, and efficient manner, what departments are working, what departments aren't specifically working, how can we eliminate departments or do we need to add departments, do we need to contract with other corporations and build other different intellectual properties. The list goes on when it comes to a think tank, and they can even go deeper than what I'm speaking of right now. But they talked about how Japan needs more internal and external think tanks all at the same time and try to find that medium in order to bring Japan into the future. Even though Japan's got a lot of great things going on, but there's not. I look at it like this: constructive criticism when it comes to anything, even including myself, is always a great thing because that means it's going to allow you to love yourself up, and that's what the son was talking about. Leveling up. Japan needed to level themselves up at the same time. Hiroshi. That's the subject matters that he spoke about. So I thought that was pretty cool. And obviously the book talks about reforming the education system. Like a lot of education systems throughout the world need to be reformed because a lot of students take too many classes that have nothing to do with not only getting a job, but has nothing to do with teaching them how to be an employee. Because like I've stated before and other entrepreneurs have stated, the education system, no matter what country you go to, does not train people to be bosses. It trains people to be employees. So usually that's why they call entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs have to think differently, do things differently, research things differently, and team up with people who think differently all at the same time in order for them to be effective force to be reckoned with at the same time, because the education system just doesn't do that for people. That's why a lot of people aren't even big on getting master's degrees anymore, because they just feel like they're mastering nothing. But that's another story for another day, you know. And then another thing is they had an issue with trying to find westernized students, because in America, a lot of people have seen them, the foreign exchange students, right? And a lot of other countries have a lot of foreign exchange students. A lot of Americans and people from Europe, they go to other countries on foreign exchange scholarship or foreign exchange program. But Japan's having a hard time getting a lot of foreigners to come to their country, obviously because of the immigration issues, and then obviously because they just, a lot of people don't find it fascinating. They haven't made it fun enough and fascinating enough for a lot of students from grade school to college to want to come to Japan and explore and study, become a part of their study abroad program, like other westernized countries like in Europe, in the United States and Canada have. So like I said, they keep having their talent leave, but not enough talent coming in. And in today's global economy, you can't just have uh, talent from the country trying to take you to the next level. I mean, that's what makes the United States of America such a great place. We have people from all over the world that are here, so so we have international perspectives in the United States, whether you want to believe it or not. That's what we have, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger as time goes on, and that's why we remain the force that we are, and that's why other countries. I mean, look at China. Uh, 40 years ago, China was in a distressed state. Now China is one of the biggest economic powerhouses. Africa was the same way, and now Africa is becoming an economic powerhouse because they're teaming up with China and other countries like them. They're thinking differently because they know that the old way does not work anymore. That's just how it is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This book touched on innovation and growing the innovation population. And they knew the first two things to do to make that happen is immigration and think tanks, and bringing it all together, and just kind of just doing away with some of the old policies and thought patterns that Japan has. And it's because, and the main reason why I really like this book, and I've said it once and I'll say it again, I'll say it to the day I die. A lot of parts of the United States, I can't speak of other Western countries, but I will speak on the United States, that are stuck in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s and 80s, when they're trying to make money in the old way off of old industries that do not work anymore. Okay, when you have to, it's like life is. I look at an economy like growing up. A child can't suck on their thumb forever. They can't suck milk out of the bottle for the rest of their lives. They can't eat mushy baby food for the rest of their life. They have to grow and mature into something better, into an adult, into adulthood. And a lot of communities around the United States are stuck in a time period and they're not ready to evolve. You evolve, you disappear. Tupac said it. A lot of other people say it all the time, and I will say that till the day I die. If you're doing the same thing today that you were doing 10 years ago, and that same thing is not uplifting you to a higher level, then obviously you got to go back to the drawing board and try to do something different. A lot of people won't do that, and that's why a lot of communities in the U.S. will forever remain stale and stagnated, because they do not want to take themselves to that next level. I think it's sad at times, but hey, who am I? I'm just a guy that's trying to get the financial intelligence movement out there and everybody into a better place, if not economically, at least financially. But if you like this book, pick it up. I'll definitely put an Amazon link in the bottom, and you can select it and check it out. It's a great book. It's a great read. And the beautiful thing is, like I said, it's between the father and the son, who are bringing different perspectives into the equation in a respectful manner. And I think that's a dying breed nowadays, and we need more of that, not less of that, in this world. Hope you guys liked the video. Please give it a thumbs up. Please share. I'm going to try to have some interviews later, and if anybody's out there who's a professional, who's an entrepreneur, that would like to interview with me or have a discussion with me, please inbox me. And let's link up and let's connect, because like I said, at the end of the day, it might be Larry's Anything Goes, but it ain't all about Larry. It's about all of us taking ourselves to the next level. Take care and have a great night.